I've noticed that many star athletes don't get their flowers while they can still smell them, and that's why I wanted to make this video about Stephen Curry. So, if you're new, I'm Nick, and before we begin, if you could please like the video, it only takes 1 second, it would really help out. I'd really appreciate that, and also if you can please subscribe if you're new. I cover basketball, baseball, and football on this channel. If you love any of those 3 sports, this is definitely the place for you. Please hit that notification bell for whenever I upload in the future. Links to my social media are in the description. Please go follow them for more immediate reactions. And today I want to give Stephen Curry his flowers while he can still smell them. I don't think that Kobe was ever given his flowers while he can still smell them. In fact, I still see him getting disrespected quite a lot. Or Tim Duncan's another guy I still see getting disrespected quite a lot. Just to name a couple guys who I think really don't get their flowers while they can still smell them. And Kobe, even after he's gone, yeah, I don't think he's really been given his due respect. And I think that he's better than what his stats and accolades would tell you compared to other NBA greats. But today I want to talk about Stephen Curry. So, we don't know how much more time we have on this earth, and he's only going to be in the league for that much longer, so let's appreciate him while he's still in the league, alright? So, before we go any further, let's cue the intro. So for the season, Steph is averaging 31.9 points per game, a career high, and he's leading the league in scoring. He's averaging 5.7 assists and 5.5 rebounds while shooting 48.7% from the field. And for how difficult a lot of the shots he's taking, yeah, that's pretty insane. And he has a true shooting percentage of 66.1%. That's absolutely ludicrous, especially for a guard. And I'm making this video as he's coming off a game where he put up 49 points in 29 minutes. Last month he averaged 37.3 points per game on 51.8% from the field and a 70.8 true shooting percentage. In 5 games this month, 38.2 points per game on 48% from the field and a 67.5% true shooting percentage. A 6'3" guard with those true shooting percentage numbers, crazy, right? And his usage rate has also gone up significantly since last month, and that's definitely what you'd want, right? With the supporting cast that he has, because you wouldn't mind his usage rate being down when he has guys like Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson and a more capable scoring version of Draymond Green, but with what they have right now, yeah, in order for the Warriors to have any hope, yeah, you'd want him to touch the ball as much as you can. I think it's safe to say that the Warriors need him to have the ball in his hands as much as possible. I'm not saying he should shoot the ball every time he gets it, but at least have the ball as much as possible for them to have any hope, because they're just that incompetent without him. With Steph on the court, the Warriors have a 114.7 offensive rating. When he's not on the court, the offensive rating is just 104.1. Overall, they're 22nd in offensive rating, but just factoring in when Steph is on the court, they're top 10 in offensive rating. And without him, yeah, they're way down towards the bottom of the league. Now, as much as I really do take advanced analytics for the most part with a grain of salt, I'll at least take team offensive and defensive ratings seriously, just not for individual players. And the offensive rating with Steph Curry on the floor versus without, it's like night and day. Back in March, the Warriors were actually below 500, but now they're 2 games above 500. They've won 11 of their last 16. And look at Steph Curry's game log in these games. Aside from the Wizards game, wow. Well, actually, I mean, at this point, it shouldn't really surprise you that Steph is doing these kind of things, but still, like, incredible, right? Now, do I think that Steph would put up numbers like this in an era where the rules favored the defense more, like when hand checking was allowed, or when you were allowed to bump guys as they were moving without the ball? I don't think so. But I do still think that even in that era, he could average around 25 to 28 points per game. And hey, that's still really good, especially for that era, but we also should keep context in mind, and because he wouldn't have the freedom of movement that he has now back in those days. But nonetheless, I do think that he definitely has enough skills to be able to create his own shot and still be a generational talent regardless of the era he's playing in. Now I'll also go over some of the dumb criticisms of Steph throughout his career. Some say he's only a shooter.
I'm sorry, I'm allergic to bull.
He's able to score from all over. If you actually watch games, or at the very least watch highlights, you see that he has ridiculous handles. He's an excellent off-ball player, and yes, playing in an era where freedom of movement has benefited him, but still, you have to appreciate the fact that he does move without the ball, because that makes you tougher to guard, it makes you less predictable, and he can score from all over. Like, he doesn't take a lot of mid-range shots, in fact, less than 3 per game, but he does still make a very high percentage of the ones he does take, and he's also a very underrated finisher at the rim. Like, everyone knows about how great of a finisher Kyrie is, but Steph actually has a better percentage at the rim than Kyrie does. And also, we know he hits some of the most ridiculous shots we've ever seen, and yeah, this one he definitely had his foot inside the line. They gave him the 3, but foot inside the line or not, yeah, you can try that shot at the park even while unguarded. You'll probably make like 1 out of 20 of those. And what also doesn't get talked about enough is the fact that Steph is a great off-ball screener, and how great of a shooter he is opens up opportunities to do more, because just how great of a shooter he is just draws that much attention to him. Now, with the team that he has now, his off-ball screens are definitely not nearly as effective as when they had Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson. Like, him setting screens for Juan Toscano Anderson and Kelly Oubre without ever touching the ball, yeah, that'll work really well. But to be fair, like, you don't want to exhaust Steph, right? Like, you need him just to even make the play-in tournament. But when he had other stars on his team, the Warriors were able to use him as a decoy a lot more because of all the attention he was drawing from the defenses. So I can kind of understand why this would happen, but yeah, I can also understand why Warriors fans would be frustrated with this. But I still feel like for most of the season, he should have been getting more touches than he has been. Like, to go multiple possessions without touching the ball, yeah, I think that's a little too much. And as great as Steph has been this year, and he's done an amazing job carrying this team, I'd still say the 2016 version of him was better because he was better at beating guys off the dribble, but I wouldn't say he was much better. Like, obviously he had a much better supporting cast, that's why they won 73 games, right? But I'd say 2016 Steph Curry was slightly better than Steph Curry right now. Like, yes, Steph is averaging more points right now than he did in 2016, but again, we should also look at context. Scoring outputs right now are the highest they have been since the 60s and early 70s. Offensive rating is the highest it's ever been since that's been calculated. So you have to take scoring numbers today with some grain of salt. But nonetheless, I think Steph has proved everyone who thought he can only be that good with star talent around him completely wrong. And when it comes to defense, he may not be all defensive material by any means, he definitely never was. But he was the weakest link on defense during the dynasty years, but that has more to do with the fact that the team around him was just that amazing defensively. And also, Steph was targeted a lot on defense because he's the smallest guy. But still, Steph is a very smart defender. And because he's very smart, I've seen him make some very impressive plays on defense, at least since around 2015 to 16. Early on in his career, yeah, he was pretty bad on defense, but he has come a long way. And also, for those who said that he's only that great when he has star talent around him, well, yeah, not only has he had a historic season with Andrew Wiggins as his next leading scorer, like, Wiggins has become a good role player, but definitely not the guy you want as your second leading scorer. Like, he's definitely nothing close to what he was hyped as when he came into the league. Like, we all know that. Then their next leading scorer is Kelly Oubre, and yeah, he's awful. Just absolutely reckless with the ball, seems to ISO without any plans. And there's also Kent Bazemore thinking he's Kobe, doing turnaround fadeaways. Like, dude, stop. And I think Steve Kerr, as great of a job as he has done with the Warriors during the dynasty at least, I think with this season, well, yes, it's not his fault that the roster is what it is. I also think that there are things he could do better to handle this roster, like holding guys more accountable and not let guys continue bad habits. And also, he's called some questionable timeouts. But then also, I'll give him some benefit of the doubt. There's only so much he can do with this team. And as for why they don't run pick and rolls more, even with Steph and Dre, well, as great of a ball handler as Steph is, is, and as great at setting picks as Draymond is, and as great of a facilitator as he is, your teams will like to trap those hard and make Steph dribble as much as possible and exert as much energy as possible, and it's not really the most ideal thing. Like, I can understand why Warriors fans would want to run more pick and rolls with Steph Curry and Draymond Green, but then also, like, I can understand why Steve Kerr is not doing so as much as plenty of Warriors fans might want. And let's also go back in time with Steph's legacy. Like, not just with what he's done this season. Even before the dynasty, Steph has led his team to the playoffs without a super team. Like, he had good rosters in 2013 and 14, but they were by no means a super team whatsoever. And 2015, like, depending on what your definition of a super team is, but hey, Steph, Clay, and Dre, those guys are homegrown talents, but like, they were also an incredible big three. And yes, Steve Kerr's system really elevated the Warriors, but it's not like Steph wasn't leading his team to the playoffs before that. And in 2013, as a 6th seed, he did lead his team to a series win over a 57-win Nuggets team. And also, another thing about the past, I also just want to say how stupid it is to criticize Steph for never winning Finals MVP. And as great as Iguodala did at guarding LeBron that series, I watched all but one game that series. I only missed one game because I had work that night. But I remember Iggy just absolutely putting LeBron in handcuffs. The near triple-double that LeBron averaged won't tell you that, but perhaps him shooting under 40% that series would tell you that, or at least it should. But also, if you watch the games, you'd know. But even with that said, Steph put up 26 points per game that series, and he only had one bad game in Game 2. He played really well in all the other games, and his 26 points per game for this whole series could very well give him an argument that he should have been Finals MVP that year, or at the very least be co-Finals MVP with Andre Iguodala, Steph for his offense and Iggy for his defense. Like, it probably won't happen, but I'm just saying, like, if you could, why not, right? 2016 Finals, yes, Steph Curry did choke. We know, but perhaps no one would talk about it if it weren't for Draymond's suspension or Bogut getting injured. And we all know that Draymond's suspension was a huge momentum changer. And yeah, Steph did still do horrible in Game 7 of that series at home. Yes, you gotta hold him accountable for that. But he also did do his thing, leading a 3-1 comeback of his own in the conference finals that year. Now with Kevin Durant, he did still put up 27 points per game in those finals series, so those finals series should absolutely help Stephen Curry's legacy. Yes, Finals MVP would be more meaningful, but let's not act like the not winning Finals MVP should hurt his legacy so much, or really at all. 2019, he had to do it without Kevin Durant, 30 points per game. Game 3 without Clay, he scored 47. The Warriors lost, but Steph had to carry that team. He's not a bad finals performer just because he never won Finals MVP. But now let's get back to right now. So the Warriors are the 8th seed right now, 3 games behind the Lakers, and much needed win against the Phoenix Suns just now. And AD, I see you looking like the star player that I know and love. And back to the Warriors are just half a game ahead of the Grizzlies as they are 4-1 in the month of May. And I definitely think it's reasonable to put Steph in the MVP conversation, but team success will definitely hold him back, and rightfully so. I definitely stand by the fact that Nikola Jokic is this year's MVP, but if Steph does win MVP this year, then Kobe not winning in 06 is an absolute travesty. It's clearly not Steph's fault that the Warriors are just fighting to be a play-in team right now, and it's definitely not Kobe's fault that the 06 Lakers were a 7th seed. The only competent player on his team that year was Lamar Odom. So with Steph's legacy as a whole, I think that he is the 2nd greatest point guard ever behind Magic Johnson. I think he's a top 20 player of all time. Even with all the problems I have with the modern game, Steph is a special talent, and I truly do believe that we should give him his flowers while he can still smell them. That's the end of this video. Please remember to like the video if you still haven't yet. If you're still here and you still haven't subscribed, what are you doing? Just subscribe, please. And also please hit that notification bell for when I upload in the future. And also let me know what you think. If there's anyone else you think that's not appreciated enough that you want me to talk about on here, or you think that we should try to appreciate as much as possible, while he's still playing, yeah, definitely let me know. I'll see you next time. Peace.